how can you create a good highlight video, including the intro, the angle of the camera, the first highlight, as we just talked about, all the good stuff. Hi everyone, we're back with another episode of Volleyball 101. I'm Mari Silva, a full-time coach at NVVA, and today we're going to stay on the same track as last week when we start talking about the recruiting process and how you should communicate with a college coach. So this week we're going to focus on how to create your highlight video so those college coaches have the chance to evaluate you when they're not able to watch you live during a tournament. So to talk to us about this process, I brought George Mason assistant coach Jordan Glass. Coach Jordan was part of the GMU squad from 2014 to 2017 and joined the coaching staff in January of 2020 after spending the last 2 years as a graduate assistant at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. Hi Jordan, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you, Mari?
I'm good. So thank you so much for joining me today. I think the past 2 weeks we've been talking about videos and how we like to see the highlights. So I think it's going to be important for us to talk here about how to make our highlight videos and, to explain what college coaches expect from a highlight videos and help the high school kids out there to make a good highlight video so we can watch them and evaluate them.
Yeah, absolutely. Highlight videos are crucial in recruiting. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so I always like to start with, your background. So how and when you started your volleyball career?
Okay, yeah. So I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. I started kind of young, about 15's year of club season. And so I played at Triangle Volleyball Club in Raleigh, North Carolina, and played at Triangle till 18's. And then I went to George Mason University for 4 years, where I played outside and middle. And then after I graduated from George Mason, I did a graduate assistantship at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. It's a mouthful, I know. SIUE is the shortened version. So I coached there and I got my master's there. I got my master's in exercise and sports psychology. And then I came back and joined Coach Ilkson at George Mason in January. So I'm really, really excited to be back.
How do you feel about being back to George Mason?
It's nice. I'm always a Patriot. I'm forever a Patriot, but it's like home. It's home. So I'm really happy to be back in the area. I, of course, have like teammates still in the area. So, and Aileen was my coach when I played at George Mason. So it was like I never left, honestly.
Awesome. So do you remember any of your highlight videos? How did they look like? How did you make them? Any memories?
Oh, I do. Okay, let's think. I remember one specifically. So I graduated in 2014 from high school. So I made this in probably like 2012. So you can only believe the camera quality was terrible. But I was a middle in high school and in club. So my highlight videos was really like an all skills middle video. But I remember I did like attacking, I did like 1s, 3s, and slides, and a C's, which is like the quick set behind the setter. And then I did blocking, pin to pin. And then I did block transition, crazy stuff. Block a 3, transition, hit a 1, block the right side, transition, hit a slide. And then I did serving, like a jump float that like hit the rafters and came back down.
It sounds like a good video with everything.
Yeah, it was pretty detailed. I mean, thank the Lord my club coach helped me make it because I would have been lost, but
good.
He was like directing me. Yeah.
So you're from North Carolina, so like outstate. How did the coach at George Mason watch you first? Was it a live tournament or was through your highlight video?
Interestingly enough, I actually had a teammate, shout out Lola Awokanirian. Her and I played high school together. I was a sophomore when she was a senior. She ended up going to George Mason. And so since we played high school together, that coach was also aware of me and just said, like, hey, do you know, Jordan was on your high school team, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of got introduced that way, but I definitely got recruited off of camps. So I went to camp at George Mason, and I went back-to-back years. And so that's really how I was found. But it's kind of interesting because I then had a teammate in high school who also played with me in college. So that was really cool.
Nice. So yeah, I asked that because, you know, of course the coaches like to watch you live on tournaments. It's much easier to evaluate. But sometimes it's an out-of-state kid, maybe, you know, us here in Virginia, we want to see a girl in California and we don't go to the same tournament. So that highlight video might be the first impression we have from a player.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so easy to just send a quick email with your highlight video. And in that way, it's like, see, look how good I am. Okay, are you ready to give me a chance?
Right. Yes. All right, so good. So just to start off here, we can touch base on the different types of videos that we usually see. So I think the main ones here are the raw film, right? That is just the full match. You can see the no edits, just the full match. Then we have the skills videos, which was kind of what you just talked about your video, right? Just, you know, you and a coach, maybe the coach tossing you balls and you hitting. And then we have the highlights video, which is usually the ones that coaches watch the most because it's a game-like situation and it's not as long as, you know, a full match. So we, you know, sometimes we don't have time to watch the full match. So I think the highlights videos are really important. So just starting with the full match here, what do you think about a full match? As a coach, how do you feel about them?
Yeah, so full matches are great. No edits whatsoever. I personally think that full matches might be the most beneficial type of film solely because it's raw. We get to see the good, the bad, the ugly. We get to see how you bounce back from a mistake, how resilient you are. We get to see how you interact with your teammates and your coaches. I just love that we get to see in system and out of system. I just love that it's just like, we get to see it all. And it tells us a lot about who you are as a player. We also get to see how, like, when you rotate out and you're on the bench, like, are you giving? Are you taking from your teammates? Are you cheering? Are you stale face? You know, like we get to see all of that. And so, I think, you know, when you're comparing raw film to highlight, raw film is so great because we get to see, like, maybe you're not as great plays, but maybe those are still decent. And we're like, gosh, if this is bad for this kid, this is pretty freaking good. Right. So I think, raw film is 100%, like, coaches love raw film, and it's very valuable for us to see who you really are as a player and not just like your monster kills.
Yes, that's exactly. Again, sometimes we don't really have much time to watch the raw film, but after watching the highlight, if we really like the player, then we go to the raw film so we can see the good and the bad, because highlights is just the good stuff, right? So it's So I think that the raw film would be like the second step in that process.
Exactly.
Now I really have to take the time to watch this kid, so now I'm going to go to the raw film. Yeah.
Exactly.
And even the body language, right? Before and after a point, how do you interact with your teammates and all of that? It counts a lot for a coach.
It really does. Like eye contact, like slapping hands, even like getting information from your coach, like how you receive information or give information. Like those things are all huge that you don't get to see from a 5-minute highlight video. So yeah. Those are awesome.
Awesome. So now next one here, we have the skills video. Now you have your experience as a recruit. That's the one you made. So how do you feel about those?
Got so much experience in skill video. So yeah, skill video is, would you like for me to explain it really quickly or just kind of, I can skim over it. So basically skills is, okay, yeah. So to me, skills video is like you're in your club, you're with maybe a club coach, your setter, and one other person tossing balls. And so what I love about skills as a coach is it's just you're dry running through everything. It's really raw. There's no one across the net to like that you're playing against. So we get to see you hit off of like an open net. So the focus is on you, and we're just seeing like what you can do. You're just showcasing your talents. I think the best thing is that there's nobody in front of you. So to see you hit on an open net is to see like, okay, this kid can crank on an open net without touching tape. Like that, those are the things that we want to see. It's also a closer angle. So like when we have raw film of you, it's probably like your parents in the stands with their iPads, like, you know, feet and feet away. But with the skills video, I like because it's a lot closer angle. So we can clearly see like your vertical, your arm swing, how high you contact the ball, like specific like passing technique, like just really specific technical stuff we can see way more clearer because the camera is closer on skills. And that's what I really love about skills. So it's just great to like show off, you know, kids with great fundamentals usually thrive in skills videos because it just shows their control. But yeah, I think the only cons to skills videos is that like you can have a rock and skills video, but like we don't know how you're going to be 6v6. And so that's kind of the you know, I kind of get hesitant about skills because I'm like, yes, she can hit it to the 10-foot line, but can she do that with a block?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. But I think skills is really just to show off your fundamentals and how well your technique is. So.
Yes, I feel the same way. It's just like when you watch a highlight video, if you like the player, you go to a raw film. I think it's the same thing with the skills. You watch the skills, that she has a good technique. Okay, let's watch her highlights now. I think it's the same process there.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So now let's talk about the highlights film, which is probably the most common one.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the highlights video?
Okay, so I think the highlights, which we get the most highlight videos as coaches, but it's just a compilation of your best clips during the game and like your monster kills if you're a middle blocker, your best serve receives and all that. So it's really just like your best, your literal best. But I think if done right, if the highlight videos are done right, they can be incredibly eye-catching to a coach, like attention grabbing, sort of like the headline of like a news broadcast. Like it can just really catch our attention, especially like the first 3 plays. Like the first 3 plays in your highlight video, I think are crucial to getting our attention, which that can be a game changer. If we love the first 3 plays, we'll probably watch the rest of the 5-minute video, you know? So it can get them interested, get coaches interested really quickly. But I think as a con is that obviously we talked about it and we're repeating it again, but it's just your perfect plays. So it's a little unrealistic as to who you are as a whole player. Because we do love seeing like the good, bad, the ugly, you know, we want to see the high pressure situations. We want to see how you play out a system, and we want to see if you shank a ball, then you'll dime the next pass. So it's not as realistic as full game footage, but it's just your best. And so your best can be incredibly eye-catching and attention-grabbing if done right. So.
Yes. And at the same time, if it's not done right, then maybe, you know, in the first 10 seconds, the coach already stops watching it. And
exactly.
And we're going to talk more about that, how to make a really good highlight video so the coach, it catches the attention of the coach and they want to watch the whole thing.
Yeah,
so now let's jump into that then. Let's talk about some of the recommendations for when you're making a video. You know, and we can start how to record the game, and then we can jump into, you know, the different positions and what to focus on depending on, you know, your responsibilities on the court. So in your opinion, just how can you create a good highlight video, you know, including the intro, the angle of the camera, you know, the first highlight, as we just talked about, all of that good stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I think the intro at the beginning should just include your name, the club you play for, your jersey number, your position, and then your class. So just the basic information for us to be able to identify you. So Jordan Glass, Triangle Volleyball Club, number 14, middle blocker, class of 20, whatever.
Maybe your height too. I think that would help.
Yeah, maybe even your height, depending on how long you want your intro. Height is a great thing to throw in. 6'2", middle blocker, you know, whatever you feel. But yeah, start with that. And then I think it's really important when you're making your highlight video, when you're creating it, to make the sections a specific skill, because I think, you know, when we just see like, oh, your front row attacking and then your back row passing and then your front row blocking and then your back row digging, it's kind of hard to keep up. So to really section out like all of your in-system attacking, and then you section out out-of-system attacking, and then you can section out serve receive, and then section out blocking. I know you guys have probably seen like the black screen and then it says attacking, and then all the attacking footage and stuff, and then the black screen and then serving. So I think really making it clear sort of where you are and what specific skill you're showcasing is a lot easier to follow along, because I think organization is just key. And then I think the camera angle is crucial, because we don't want the camera angle to be like where the line judge
on the side,
stand,
yes,
on the side, and we can't really see exactly what's going on. Like, would that look great for your vertical? Probably, but we can't see, you know, the blocking scheme on the other side. We can't see the players around you. We can't really see what you're running from a weird angle. So I think the best angle for a highlight video is like on the end line, behind, like on the same side of the court, but on the end line. So right behind where you would serve from is just a great angle. We get it. That's how we do our film in college. End line is where it's at.
Yes. And sometimes it's hard for the parents to just change sides when the set is over. But if you can follow along and stay on the same side in your player, that helps a lot too.
Yes, it really does. And I know that a main reason why we have these weird angles is because parents at tournaments, they're like, I don't know where to stand.
There's no room.
Yes, I totally get it. But as close to those points as you can get is definitely best.
Yeah.
And then I think like each clip should be fairly short. Each clip within the whole video, like we can see like maybe the pass just went off and then the set and then your attack and then cut to the next clip. Because we don't need to see what the other team play, you know, the free ball back over. We don't need to see all of that, right? Because we're not recruiting them, we're recruiting you. And I just think in general, the highlight video shouldn't be overly long. Like, I feel like 5 minutes is really all you need.
Yeah, that's enough.
Like, yeah, and that's it. Because most coaches aren't going to watch a 20-minute video because we just get so many videos. We have so many kids to watch. So if you can put your very best clips into 5 minutes, I think you're golden. Let's talk about the pauses and the arrows.
That's a really important point.
Really crucial stuff. The pauses and the arrows. So most coaches know which kid you are because you guys are wearing jerseys. But that's okay. I think that I do love a good arrow or a good circle around the kid. Love it. But it doesn't have to be entirely long. You know, it can be just like a 2-second thing. Like, it doesn't have to be like a 9-second pause. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it can just be 2 seconds. Quick arrow. Cool. Get it out the way. If you're a setter, we do not need you to do the arrows.
There's only one setter on the court. We know who you are.
There's only one setter, and we know who you are. But yeah, like, I mean, we're just going to automatically assume that you're the kid getting the kills. You're the kid getting the digs. We don't, you know, the arrows and all that is not necessary, but if you would love to throw it in, cool.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's also important to, some people, they pause the video right when they're hitting or they're passing, and you can't really see their arm or their, you know, their footwork. So I think it's important to pause before you're starting your action. Okay, that's
before the play.
Yes, that's who you are. We know who you are. Okay, so now let it go so we can watch the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it's hard for us as coaches. If you pause it right in the middle of your approach, we can't really see the speed of your approach. We can't see, you know, what's her vertical. Like, it's just it's distracting. So if you can point yourself out before the play happens, so say you're in service season outside, you point yourself out and then you pass to hit. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect situation there.
Exactly.
Because I think sometimes it's hard for us to see who the player is, right? Because sometimes you can't really see the number of the jersey. So I think it's important for that arrow, that pause, but at the right time, in, you know, at the right situation.
Exactly. Exactly. I think you're spot on with that. So yeah, I think that's huge, and it can really like make or break your highlight video. So I think, if you're going to use them, just be smart about it. Like we talked about.
Yes.
And then, last thing, which I think I repeated, is just organization is key. The pattern of what skill you're doing should make sense. Like I wouldn't go from attacking to digging to blocking to passing. You know what I'm saying? Like I would just do all the front row first and then serve, receive, digging, and then end with serving. I think that's a good marker, is just end with serving, because that's probably the last skill we're really worried about.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think the organization of it should make sense. But other than that, those are my tips and tricks for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned before, like starting your highlight with, a great kill or with your main responsibility on the court. If you're a middle blocker, we want to see you hitting or blocking. We don't want to see you serving. So don't start your video with a serve, right? Because we want to see,
Yeah, we don't really want to see middle blockers doing short ball passing when you're a middle blocker. Like
maybe at the end when,
those are just the extra
30
things.
seconds at the end. But I think the first few highlights should be, your best kills, your best blocks, your best passes.
Yes.
Just to catch our attention.
Big. Absolutely. Yes. Yep. And then you can trail off. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So great. So now we can jump into the positions and, what you should include on your video, depending on where you play on the court. So then let's start with the setters here. I think the setters is always fun.
Ooh, setters.
So what should a setter include in her highlights video?
Okay, so setting, of course. Start with setting, include, and not just like the perfect pass in system setting. Like we want to see like the tricky stuff. Like you're pushed back, you're pulled off the net, you're running in front. You know what I'm saying? 10 feet off. We don't just want to see the perfect situation off of a free ball. A lot of setting off of digs is great. Like transition setting is fantastic. Like we want to see all the sets. And you can even put your best sets, whether they're in system or out of system, at the very front. And then I think it's important for setters to include blocking, because that's huge. And I think, that's a huge portion of your game that I think it's a lot of it gets overlooked a lot as a setter. So blocking and then defense, like we need to know that if the ball comes to zone 1, that you can play it or pick it up. You know what I'm saying? Like defense is huge. If you're a setter that can play defense, that's an incredible advantage.
Especially if you're a shorter setter that you don't really have blocking as your main point there. Playing defense is a great thing for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if blocking isn't your thing as a short setter, I would start with setting, and then I would go into your crazy defensive skills, and then maybe finish with blocking. You know what I'm saying? Show us how fast you are. Show us what defensive moves you can make on the floor. All that would be really great for setters. And then, of course, you can finish with serving. We love serving. We love a setter who can go back there and get after it. So, just your aggressive serving is great.
Yes, I agree. And I think that, as you say, that the defense part, maybe you're blocking, how fast can you turn around and get that ball? And and even in defense, you're in the back row, the Libero got the first ball, how fast can you transition to the net and get the second ball? I think those are all really good things.
Absolutely. Like, are you getting your hands on these tough balls is like a really good thing to showcase as a setter. Like, are you getting your feet to the ball? Can you get your hands under these tough balls? Like, those are things we want to see. We don't just want to see it off a free ball pass and it's like a perfect, because that hardly ever happens in a real game.
Yeah.
So.
And I think we should also include the dumping as well, right? If you're in the back, in the front row.
How could I forget?
That's our favorite moment as a setter. We get to score.
Yes, you guys get to score too. I forgot. Yeah. So the deep throws for setters, the dumping. I think it's incredibly impressive when a setter can dump around a big middle. Like that is something that I'm like, yes. Dumping behind, you know what I'm saying? All those deep just turn and push, all those are what we want to see. So definitely mixing your dumps in there. Yeah.
And again, we can also like divide the skills. We start with the setting, maybe then go to defense and then go to your dumping, each section separate so we can see everything.
Separate it out. Yeah. So do the setting and then your kills, which is all your dumping. Any type of dumping you can throw in there. And then go to your defense blocking. Yeah.
Great. So there you go, setters. Make sure you include everything on your video. So great. So now we can go with the pins. We can talk about both outside and right sides. Of course, outsides have more responsibilities, but I think we can talk about them at the same time here.
At the same time, yeah. So I think a huge misconception is that when we see pins and we get pins highlight film, they don't normally include out of system, but out of system is a majority of the balls that pins get. You know, we don't just want to see your perfect in-system sets like that you get that you're crushing. We do want to see those, but we also want to see a majority of what the game truly is, which is out-of-system sets from, you know, your libero, from somebody in middle back. You know, that's what we really want to see. So definitely include in-system, include out-of-system, mix it up. Like, show me that you can hit sharp cross and then hit down the line and then hit deep corner and throw in maybe a roll shot in there, because outsides do get a lot of the junk as far as like sets. And so we need to know that you can move the ball around, do something different with it. We need to know that you have a lot of tools in your toolbox besides just cross court to zone 5. You know what I mean? So absolutely, I think both of those things, just show us that you're diverse. Even, I think, which also needs to be included outside of your normal serve, receive, and digging back row defense, is that tip pickup to transition is so crucial. And I think if you have clips of you doing that in games, to include that in your highlight video, because you do, especially in college, you're going to tip pick up to transition a lot. And we've got to know that you can put up a nice high pass on the tip and then work your way out really, really fast. Yes. So I think tip pickup and out of system attacking are two things that really get lost in an outside's highlight film. And then, of course, you've got your defense, your serving, and all that good stuff, and your blocking, of course. We really do want to see outsides as well play both outside and right side. Like, you make yourself so much more marketable if you can show us that it doesn't matter what pin you're on, that you can do it all. Like, you can tip pick up and transition from the right side, tip pick up, transition from the outside. You can stuff the outside on the other side as a right side blocker. Like, we want to be able to see all that. And so don't limit yourself to just one position when you're trying to get recruited for college, right? You want to show them, like, I can fit into your team as a right side and as an outside, and I can play back row too if you want me to be the libero. Like, you want to just really showcase all your talent. So I think that that's huge. But yeah, right side is the exact same thing. Tip pick up from the right side. We want to see your out of system attacking for sure on the right side. We want to see your in system attacking. If you're a right side that can run slides or any, like, you know, middle right side kind of crosses over a lot. So if you're a right side that has middle tendencies as well and can do both, I think that's awesome to throw into your highlight video, because that just expands all the different things we can run as a team if we have a right side who can also double as a middle and like run middle swings. So definitely any of that, blocking, serving as a right side. And if you're a right side that can play defense, please put that in there.
Perfect. We love them.
We love that. They're few and far between. We want to see you play defense. We want to see you be able to pass. We want to see all that, because you might be a right side in club season right now, but some coach might be like, oh my gosh, she can really pass. I want her as an outside on my team. You know what I mean? So you're just making yourself more marketable by showing, hey, I've got all these skills and I can be anywhere you need me to be. So.
And even if you're running a 5-1 and, you know, the right side is in the back row, we want to see you attacking too, because now we only have two hitters on the net. So if we have you in the back row, we don't need to bring a DS in. We're going to have you as an attacker in the back row too. So that's awesome for a coach to have. That's
a great point, Mari. I didn't even think about back row attacking, which is huge for both outside and right side. Like, But your back row attacks, they might not be the prettiest thing, but we just have to know that you can do them.
Yes.
And if we see that you can do them, then there's room for growth. But if you don't put it in there, then we're like, maybe she doesn't play back row. Maybe she can't play back row. Maybe she can't hit back row. So yeah, that's a really great point. Back row attacks are huge.
Yeah, and as you say, sometimes we want to put the best highlights in the video, we want to put the best skills. But sometimes I think as outsides and right sides, we don't put the out of system balls because they're not as pretty. But if you can score, it's not as pretty, but you're scoring. That's what we want to see. So I think that's why most of the videos we see, they don't include out of system balls because they're not as pretty as an in system ball.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that kids get timid trying to put that in there because they think, oh, it just has to be perfect. But it's like, we don't need to just see perfect. We want to see all of it. And sometimes we get really impressed by the plays that aren't perfect. Like what you did with the ball when the Libero was, all the way across the court and gave you a cool out of system ball, like what you did with that. We don't really need to see the perfect. We know that you can produce in the perfect. It's what you can do outside of the perfect that we want to see.
Yes. So. Yes, I completely agree. All right, so now let's go with the middles. Jordan was the middle here. Probably her favorite one.
Shout out to my middles.
All right, so middles, all yours.
Okay, so middles, my favorites. Okay, so attacking, obviously, as a middle, you want to just show how dynamic you can be as a middle. So not only just your ones, threes, can you run a slide? Can you run a push? Can you run a C behind the setter? What all can you do? Because I think middles get so caught up in, I just have to hit like a really good one and that'll get me to college. And it's like, no, we want to be able to run all types of things out of every serve receive. So if you can't run behind, that's kind of limiting us. That's limiting us a lot in serve receive. Or if you can't run in front, that's tough because what if we have bad passing? So I think, all of your skills, all of your hitting skills should be shown and not just the ones that you're best at. So however diverse and dynamic you can make yourself on film. I, as a middle, also in my own personal highlight film years ago, I also had myself hitting outside and right side, even though I wanted to be a middle. And it did me good because I got recruited as an outside. So I think, of course, start with the position you want to play. So start with middle, but if you can hit anywhere on the net, that just is better for you. So I think, attacking wise, just show them that you can do it all. So yeah, that's my take on attacking. I also think for middles is like, we want to also see when it's not a perfect toss to the setter. Like I want to see if you can hit when the setter is between the net and the 10-foot line and it's a little off. Can you still crush the one? Can you still hit a three? Can you even, when the setter gets pulled in front, can you run a slide behind and still crush it?
It's being available.
Yes. How available are you? Are you one of those that can only hit on a perfect set? Because those are few and far between in the game. So I think, as you're creating your highlight film, can you show us that like, it doesn't matter the pass because I'm an option. And that's kind of the crucial thing. So middle blocking, we want to see you block pin to pin. We want to see you block the middle, the 1, the 3, how you would block a slide. We want to see all of that. But I think the biggest thing that we want to see for middles highlights is block to transition. Like I need to see.
I'm glad you say that because that was going to be my point.
I need to see how fast you can block and then take your steps off the net, how fast you can turn and burn and get back and be available. Because I think middles think like, oh, my availability. It's like, are you available in transition? Because it's going to be fast and it's off of a dig. And can you make yourself available when the pass on the 10-foot line? Like, so 100% if you're a middle blocker sending highlight film, make sure that block to transition is in your film and closer to the front.
Make that your first highlight.
Block the transition, because that is going to be really crucial for you. And it really could separate you from a lot of the other middles who maybe are a little bit slower in transition, you know, or maybe their steps aren't big enough to get them, you know, to the 10-foot line to get right back up. So I think that really separates itself, and how fast you are. We want to see speed in middles, speed. So, yeah, that'll be great if you could include that. And let's see, we do want to see, I think another misconception about the middles is that we don't want to see you serve and dig. But in a game, you serve, one of the middles serves and digs. So if you can go back there and show us that you are the more ball-controlled middle and you can serve, and then you can come in and dig, because we, you know, I'm trying to say this in the right way. We don't want to lose points because the middle is serving.
And in college, when the middle is serving, we ask our players to attack her. Go to zone 5. It's usually where the middle stands. Go to zone 5 because the middle is playing back row, and we're gonna go after her.
In college, everybody knows that you're the middle in there, and they want to attack you, and you don't want to be the middle that they look at and say, "Oh, we're gonna get this is an easy side out." You know what I'm saying? So if you're a middle and you do have the physical skills to serve and then come in and dig balls, you're going to keep us in the game that much longer. And I would take that type of middle over a middle who can just hit the ball hard in the front row. So I definitely, Mari's spot on. We will find you if you're one of those middles that can't dig. Okay.
And again, it doesn't have to be at the beginning of the video. You can put that at the end, but if you have some highlight, just include that for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but one thing that I miss a lot, you talked about, I miss a lot when I'm watching a middle play, is that they usually only hit out of serve receive. Like sometimes I watch a 10-minute video and it's only serve receive. So I really miss that transition off the net. You block, you transition, and you're available again. So I think that's the main thing that I look at when I'm watching the middle, because I want to see them being available in transition.
Absolutely. And honestly, that's usually like middles. If you're a good middle, of course you can bang out of serve receive, but if you're a good middle, you can really play out of defense. Like you can, out of transition is really like where we want to set you, because it's the fastest. You're going to get the fastest set. The other team is going to be scrambling. They won't be set up. And that's when we can really get the most out of you as a middle. So absolutely, Mara, I think you're right that needs to be at the forefront of your highlight video.
And in college, I think the game is way faster. So if you're not able to do that, in club or high school, then you're going to have a really hard time in college because the game is just so much faster.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So great middles. Listen to Jordan and include your transitions. Great. So now let's go to the last position here. We have the little ones in the back row, the DSs and Liberos.
We appreciate you guys. We really do.
A lot of hard work from them.
Yes. You guys are the reason why we can hit. Thank you. So I think liberos for sure, like, obviously you're going to want to start off with your serve receiving, especially as a libero. Like if you're like, I want to be a libero in college, we need to see that you are able to just hold down on serve receive and take up. What we really want to see as coaches is how much range and space can you take up, how aggressive you are. Like if you're taking balls from the outside and your outside just gets to go and hit, those are the things that we want to see. So your range is huge in serve receive as a libero. Also, I think as a libero, which we can tell on film, we can tell how aggressive you are. We can tell, if you're giving direction, if you're helping, if you're figuring out how to better your serve receive unit. And we can see how much space you take up in a video. We really can. So I think number one is just how aggressive you are. How you communicate with your teammates as a libero is huge because you're on the court the most out of anybody. So we've got to see that you are making actual eye contact, touches, you're being aggressive, you're in there, you're in every huddle, just like locked into your teammates, trying to get out of serve receive. So I think that's like huge as a libero. Another thing is your range on defense. And also, which I'm going to throw this in really quickly, not just you and left back, show us in middle back, show us in right back. Because maybe on our team, we have someone who's really good in left back, but you could play back row for the outsides in college. You know, you could be a DS. So we don't just want to see you in left back, even though left back would be your primary position. But we want to see your range in left back. We want to see all types of tough digs. You get it, you digging off the middle, you digging off the outside, you digging down the line. We want to see how you can keep the space between your body and your platform on both serve, receive, and digging. We really lock into the technical aspect of a libero, how well they move their feet, how well they create space with their body and their platform, you know, how fast they are. And then 100% as far as liberos go, we do want to see your out of system setting. Like that is something that I feel like we're missing nowadays, because that's a majority of the game. Like we talked about, as far as outsides, they have a majority of out of system attacking. So we need to see how well you out of system set to both your pins, both the right side and outside. And if you're making the right decisions when doing that, and you running, it can even be the most chaotic play, but we need to see how good of a ball you can put it up in the chaos. And I think what's also important too is the height of it and the location of it, because liberos don't usually put enough height on the ball, and then it's not really off the net. They either put them right on the net, or it's like 12 feet off the net, and we just want 5 feet off and 5 feet out. And that's 5 and 5 is really what we're going for. So absolutely, I think out of system setting is crucial for liberos. And then of course, I think as a libero, your serving needs to be included. Of course, you want to include your hustle plays, but I think also is you want to include your coverage. Like your coverage, like we need to know that you can cover your attackers and any attacker. Like we need to know that you're getting in there, you're ready to play off the block, your hands are out, we're ready to move. Like we need to know that as a libero, coverage is like one of your strengths, because there's going to be a ton, especially in college. There so many people get blocked. Your best hitters will get blocked. And so it's a matter of, can we keep the play going? So yeah, as a libero, serve, receive, defense, obviously, out of system attacking, serving, coverage is huge, humongous.
Yes, I think those are two things that people always forget to include, is the out of system balls and the coverage. We don't see many of those. Absolutely. And those are like the biggest parts of your game, really, because so it's like absolutely include those. And then if you want to throw in some crazy play of you running and crashing into the bleachers and got a ball up, or you pancaking, you can throw that in at the end. We're not going to be mad at you for that, but we need to see the juice right in the core of your game right there. So, yes. I think it's just like outsides when you say, oh, you can hit. That's okay, great, you can hit, but what else can you do? We want to see the whole package. I think it applies to the DSs as well. You can pass, you can play defense, great, but what else can you do? We're looking for something more here.
Absolutely. We want to see well-rounded athletes. Like we don't just want to see one-trick ponies. Like we want to recruit athletes who can do a lot, because honestly, in a team aspect, like 90% of the time, you're going to probably be asked at some point to play a position you've never played before, or cover for someone. And it's not your primary position. It's more of your secondary position. And so as a team, you've just got to be ready to take on any role that's in your, you know, you have to be ready to take on any role, hands down. Like as a middle, there might be a game where we're like, yo, something happened, so-and-so got hurt, you're playing right side. You might be an outside hitter, but you're a really good passer, and our libero gets hurt, and now you're libero. Like those situations 100% do happen. And so we look for well-rounded athletes to recruit. And that's what we're getting at. So yeah.
So I'm 100% with you there. So I think that was a great advice to end, but would you like to add anything else before we go here? I think we covered everything, all the positions, the main recommendations. And do you have anything else to add here before we go?
Maybe just one thing. I just think, like, in the whole recruiting process, just make sure you're being yourself. Make sure you're showing how unique you are. If you're your humor, you know, like what things that you love. Like, I think recruiting process, you don't have to try to fit this mold. Like, it can be individualized to you and show your uniqueness and who you really are as a person, because we are, as much as we're looking for volleyball players, we're looking for great people that'll get along with our team as well. And so, you know, sometimes just the characteristics of who you are is like, we love those things. So I think be yourself, be unique, go after what you love, and just keep doing you.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think especially now with, you know, that period going for so long, the highlight videos are so important because we can watch the kids live. So I think the highlights videos now, it's as like more important than ever now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we want to see all of it. We want to see who you are as a person. So yes, exactly.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Jordan, again, for taking the time. It was awesome. I think it's going to be really helpful for all high schoolers out there that are making their videos and getting ready, you know, to be recruited. So I think that was really, really great to talk to you, and I appreciate you taking your time.
Absolutely. I hope it helped. Good luck to all of you guys trying to get recruited. I wish you all the best. Thanks for having me, Mari.
Of course. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.